Next is Stephen Perry.
Good afternoon, everybody. You guys know me very well. So again, as I've said before, I'm not the best public speaker, so I'm a little always nervous speaking to you. I don't know why, but I just tend to be. So I'm going to touch upon some stuff that is very important. And the product is known as zinc chromate. And within this product is a very dangerous product known as hexavalent chromium. The reason why this is a problem is the ship, for those who've been on board, is coated entirely with this zinc chromate to preserve the metal when it was built. So this is going to be a problem, and it's not in the contract that it will be remediated. So this is a concern for not being remediated and put into the water column. This water column, this product becomes very soluble in water. It poses no problem above the water and hasn't for 75 years. But once it is in the water, it will create some difficulties. With that said, again, looking at the contract and what the contractor is remediating, there are several other contaminants that are not identified, and I'm just curious as to what extent that information or those items will be remediated or addressed. These include other contaminants not readily visible, insulation behind ceilings and behind sheathing throughout the refrigerated or spaces that need to keep cooler, so it's up against a heated fuel tank. All the sheathing and insulation overheads would need to be removed to identify the contaminant of the insulation, whether it's asbestos-based, fiberglass-based, or whatever it may be. But you have to remove this to be able to examine and see what's in it. The insulation behind the old reefer stores, which occupies 3 decks in one compartment, another one, and some of them are zero freeze. So all this has to be looked at, but they're completely encased in refrigerators. It's like the inside of your refrigerator. You don't rip it apart to look to see what's behind it and what material was used. With that said, you guys now have a document known as a painting schedule that identifies a lot of this information that I've had in my files for quite some time, and it identifies all these products used in the construction of the vessel. With that said, there's other products, simple things that I'm concerned. And actually in the contract, and one of your documents that says what you will follow, it talks about products from oils, petroleum, PCD, but it also talks about floatable items. And there's numerous items that are deteriorating and will deteriorate. One mainly, like the cork on chilled water piping and behind the insulated storerooms. Many other products in the engine room, piping systems. Even though the tanks are going to be cleaned, you have a massive amount of fuel oil and contaminated bilge water and ballast water piping systems that need to be flushed. These pipes have not had fluids in them and flushed through in 55 years. So that is a very difficult proposition. So there's a lot of items that need to be addressed that do not appear to be in the scope of work that your contractor has submitted and you guys approved on your budget back in October.
John Scott. Justin Hruby.
Just have a few images to pass out real quick to the board members.
Okay.
Hey guys, so my name's Justin Hruby. I'm with the SS United States Preservation Foundation with Steve here as well. He's the vice president here. So these images that I just showed you, these are images inside the ship, and this is the zinc chromate primer paint that is covering the entire SS United States. And I'll read through, which is a highly toxic chemical to the environment. So good afternoon, everyone. Like I said, I'm Justin Hruby. I have a degree in environmental science from Gustavus Adolphus College, and I'm from Minnesota originally. Live in Sarasota. Thank you for being here. I want to speak about the looming environmental crisis that we have here and health crisis with sinking the ship, the proposed sinking of the SS United States. On the surface, sinking ships might seem like a way to create artificial reefs, but this is not any ship. This is a ship that's coated with zinc chromate, a compound known for its toxicity and carcinogenicity. It was used primarily as a corrosion-resistant paint in the 40s and 50s. It's no longer used anymore because of how toxic it is. And it contains hexavalent chromium, which is the same chemical that poisoned groundwater in Hinckley, California, made famous by the Aaron Brockovich case. If this ship is sunk, it will not simply disappear beneath the waves. Instead, the toxic coatings will begin to leach into the marine environment immediately. Hexavalent chromium is highly water soluble, making it very mobile in the environment. This contamination will persist for decades, as there's over 1 million square feet of surface area that is inside and outside, fully covered in this ship. The marine life is going to suffer. Hexavalent chromium is highly toxic to fish, crustaceans, and coral reefs. It disrupts reproduction, damages gills, and bioaccumulates through the food chain. That means larger species like dolphins, sea turtles, and tuna will suffer next, and then it will climb through the food chain, making its way through the human body as well. And the important point I want to drive home here is that you can uptake this hexavalent chromium through your skin contact in the water. So it's not like this is going to be a toxic environmental hazard to be around in when you're down there swimming, which is the proposed idea for divers. So the human cost is real. Fishing communities depend on the Gulf, and contaminating, seafood even further. This will cause cancer, liver, kidney damage, and reproductive issues in fish and marine wildlife. It's just a known carcinogen. So let's also not forget the legal and ethical violations here. The EPA classifies zinc chromate as a hazardous material. And intentionally sinking a vessel coated in it not only violates principles of environmental protection, it appears to violate international laws and also domestic ones. The EPA classifies zinc chromate as a highly carcinogenic chemical. It's highly regulated, and it's not just something that you could just dump it in the ocean and it's going to go away. So we really cannot justify, this. I know it's fun. I support the reef building process as well too, but this particular ship here, with having this coating all over the surface of it, it's going to degrade in the water. And I'm not against the reefing project at all, but just this particular ship is going to cost millions of more dollars to remediate properly. Because if you send it down there just the way it is with this primer on it, it's going to make people sick. It's going to make the wildlife sick, and it's going to poison our environment.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, yes.
Yes. And I hate to do this, but this is obviously a big issue. I think one that's, a fairly well debated project of ours in the public forum, and one that I certainly don't take lightly. I don't think anybody on the board or our staff has taken this lightly at all. But when I hear things like this, and I want to give the speaker an opportunity, if the chairman sees fit, to maybe briefly address this. But if there is a material in the ship that is known and identified that is this dangerous, why is it not being required by the governmental agencies that are dictating what must be done for the remediation? Because I'll tell you, when I hear things like that, that's the first thing that comes to my mind is like, are you suggesting we're out of our permit compliance, or are you suggesting that maybe that this is something new and the agencies don't know how to regulate it?
Yeah, you can come back.
If the chairman will, yeah.
I mean, I guess from an environmental standpoint, as I've dug into this issue further, I have no idea why this has not come to light. I mean, as you can see in these photos, it's a neon yellow primer. It's all over the ship. And for anybody, who was in charge of purchasing the ship originally, you would think it'd be the first thing that the EPA would ask is, hey, how are you going to handle remediating this zinc chromate paint? So I'm wondering the same thing. I'm like, how did this get so far into the process without it being stopped right from the get-go? Because, like I said, I think the reefing's a great idea, but you don't want to sink a ship that's full of hazardous material in water where people are going to be swimming around, and that you're trying to foster environmental protection and health. So I'm with you on that. I have no idea how it got this far.
If I may, part of it as well would be the either discoloration of his camera or whatever lens he chose to use. I have the same picture on my phone that doesn't look anything like the yellow picture that was given to us.
You go on the ship and take a look. You can
well,
see it from
I did
the
it
outside.
From the ship.
Oh, I'm not,
So
no,
it
these,
just-
the photos
it's
are all
interesting to
online.
me
You can
to
find
see
these
the
photos. And
Vast difference.
no, it's all the same.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, and this, I don't see Alex in here. I don't know if he's in here or not, but I see Craig Coffey, who can pretend he's Alex for right now. With something like this, I mean, is this not the type of thing where we could easily do a sample, determine if there's a toxic substance, and then get a proper scientific evaluation of what we have, and then, some, educated and informed guidance on what's the proper protocol? I mean, because look, and here's the thing. If there's something truly toxic on here that's dangerous, I don't think anybody on this board wants to sink it. And we would want the, using the tourism dollars to expend to, remediate that before doing so. But, I guess, and I'll finish and then I'll leave it to Mr. Coffey if the chairman sees fit to do so. But, is there a way that we could look into this and just figure that out? Because here's the problem, right? And we've all received a lot of communications on this ship. A lot that are in favor of reefing it, a lot that are opposed, a lot from people who do live here, who don't live here, who want to visit here, people that dive, people that don't dive. I mean, all sorts of cross-sections of the, of the population have reached out to us with different concerns. So one of the difficult tasks I have is, if it's a policy question about is it a good thing to sink the ship, that one's a little easier to deal with, because the question is then, if we don't sink it, what is to become of it? Well, what was going to become of it is it would have been scrapped. That's the reality. So we actually stepped in and prevented it from being scrapped. Now, if it's a question of something that's dangerous, that's not something I can answer because I'm not a scientist. And so that's why I would turn to, our staff to engage the proper people to tell us about that. But I don't want to ignore a warning, but I also don't want to act, I'm not saying this to be, flippant, but, some of the communications I've received electronically are some of the sky is falling type things. So we can't just take every one of them and expend thousands upon thousands of dollars to chase down dead leads. But if it's a real potential issue that we could investigate, I, for one, would be in favor. Let's investigate it, make sure we're doing it right. And I have a feeling no matter what's on that ship, there's probably somebody with the expertise somewhere who can tell us the safe way to fix it and get it ready to be a reef. Anyway, thank you, Mr.
Commissioner
Chairman.
Ketchel?
So I echo the same sentiments. I mean, we now have somebody with an environmental science degree in front of us telling us that this is dangerous, and I want the record to show it was a 4-1 vote. I don't want everyone to think that, well, she was against it anyway. But we advertise golf food to table.
Right.
And if the fish are eating the paint and we're eating the fish, and we have such a great environment, a pristine environment, I don't want to go down in history as the commission that sunk the ship that poisoned the Gulf of America. So I ask also that the staff look into this. Alex is here, not here, but I would really like to know if some of these allegations are truthful. And I'm not a scientist. I'm just, a person who was elected to represent the people to the best of my ability. So, and I also have received all the hundreds of emails, some pro, some, why did you vote no? Why did you, thank God you voted no.
Right.
So,
I mean, as a diver personally, I do dive myself. I've done shipwreck dives. I would not personally dive that wreck knowing how toxic it is around it. Your skin is your largest organ in your body. You're going to absorb everything that's around there. So,
Commissioner Cox?
So I would be further interested, if we're going to pursue this study, then I would like to see, because I imagine, and I don't know, that the reason the EPA hasn't jumped all over this is that there is probably significant a significant difference, maybe a reduction in the reagency, the reactivity, if you will, of liquid C6, right, that you use to clean, metal, heavy metals and that kind of thing. It's pretty common in industrial use where food is not involved, because it is in its liquid state. It's my impression, or it used to be the case, that it was restricted from use in cleaning silos, for example, but it is still being used, to my knowledge, to clean paper mills, et cetera. So I would be curious to know what the, potential reagency is of it in solid state, which is what it is now, versus what it was when it was in its liquid state. I mean, if we're going to pursue the study, then I would like to see, what the difference is. I mean, is it still a harmful element, this many years later after its use, or has it, fully reacted with its environmental chemicals, so that we know, is it going to react with salt water? Is it not going to react with salt water? I suspect that the reagency would be really low, or the EPA would be all over this, because they are no strangers to hexavalent chromium, amen. Yeah. I have worked in the development business in remediating a hexavalent chromium SC6 pond. Okay. So I have some experience in that. I will say that I wish that it had been in solid state when I was dealing with it. Mm-hmm. So I understand there's potential threat, but I would like to know, what the position is, in the study.
Mr. Coffey, or
thank you. I'll stay.
Well, let me ask a question before you feel like we need to go too far, because I'm sure we'll have this brought back to us at some point. I feel like we have a natural resources department that's managing this project.
Yes.
I understand why they're out today, and this was not a predetermined item for our agenda today, but potentially an update to all of us, it would be a good item to have in the future. The only questions I want to ask today, and then we're going to end the item here and we'll move to it another day when we agenda it, is are there any regulations that we are not following?
So I'll start with that. We are following all the regulations, and we will be monitoring the vessel after deployment. We're required to by our permit, and the the Woods Hole is going to be helping us with that. Almost every wreck has zinc chromate in it. It's part of our EPA rules. We're following those 100%. So we've sunk many vessels with that. Every vessel that's sunk out there has that in it. Every large ship will have that in it. Additionally, we're going through so many.
So in the future, let's make an agenda item, and we'll bring all of this back up so that we can all be updated at the same time, potentially when Alex is back.
That's alarming. That's actually alarming to hear that they've all had zinc chromate
your time
paint.
is up.
So
thank you.
And I would also
have a seat.
Some of these same folks that are with the, not to shoot the messenger, but they're with the Preservation Society that want to get the boat. They have come here, sued us. They've called regulatory agencies on us time and time again with no findings. We had 20 in about a month ago, and it's over and over again just because they want to sabotage us now.
Mr. Coffey will make this an agenda item for the future, and then we'll discuss it further detail.